Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds here, back again. This week we are talking about running back numero unos. There's only 12 running back ones per year. Unless you're in a 14-team league, then there's 14 running back ones per year.
Well, we're not talking about that.
But we're talking about 12-team leagues. We have so much to talk about this week. The Fantasy Football Expo. Who do we think will be running back ones? Could it be guys like Antonio Gibson?
J.K. Dobbs?
Man, I'm going to keep fighting for Joe Mixon till the day I die.
I think it's going to be Baker Mayfield.
Ready, set, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson, and my fellow nerds, Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
Good to see you're alive. And Garret Price.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going really well. We're coming off the FF Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio. It was a fantastic weekend.
It was great.
It was an awesome weekend.
It really was. Matt almost died from alcohol poisoning. Thanks to Brian from Fantasy Affairs.
Nothing like airing your dirty laundry out there.
Shout out,
for
Brian.
everyone.
Yeah, Brian, great dude. Sponsored the after party at a Veneta party here at the Nerds headquarters beforehand. Tons of great people we got to see this weekend.
Tons.
We got actually some good content in our studio, so make sure to check out YouTube. We got a good video coming out.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the end of this week, we got Dynasty Trade Calculator in studio, Fantasy Affairs, Fantasy Scouts, the Dynasty Trades HQ podcast. We have so many and so much more. Finaros, Chad Workman. We got so many people. Dynasty Happy Hour, Tyler Gunther. Here in our studio where Matt and Garret are sitting. We have that. We have them all. So we have one big show coming up. I don't know how the show went because I'd already been drinking at that point.
Get out of town.
They were entertaining.
They were good.
Rich was drinking beers on camera, so
Live on the air.
Yeah, you got to check out our YouTube channel. Now, when we say we have more unique content coming to YouTube, why you guys subscribe? This is the whole reason. It's gonna be must-see TV. I got to see it because I don't even know what happened. I'd already been drinking, and that was early in the day, and then we kept drinking. Hence why Matt almost died. Again, thanks Ryan from Fantasy Affairs.
Long
Great
night.
Party. Again, so many people. Thanks to Bob Lung for throwing the expo. Got to see so many people that I respect in this industry. Got to meet so many of them face to face. Again, we mentioned guys like Michael Liu.
It was awesome meeting everyone. Yeah, I mean, it was
McDowell, which we already know from DLF, and Scott Fish was the first time I got to meet Scott Fish. Mike Clay from ESPN, Rich Rebar from 4for4, from the Warren Sharp analysis. Chris Allen from 4for4. So many people. I mean, literally, there's so many names. I can't even go into it. You know, Rob Wozniak. I'm gonna keep going names. That if I can't, if I can't go into it, because I'm gonna leave.
I think it's Rich
off.
Highbar, by the way.
Is it Highbar?
Yeah.
I thought it was Rebar. No. Could be not. Well, Rich is a great dude. A lot of Riches going
Another
out
Rich.
and of course, some my best friends in the industry here, Dynasty Trade Calculator with Hurley, Moser, and Izzy. So many people. If you did not make it to the expo this year, you really missed out. It was absolutely fantastic.
Amazing.
The good thing is 12 months from now, they're going to do it again.
Run it back.
And we'll be there again, and it's going to be even bigger and better.
And all that trash talk on Ohio, and now everybody's like, oh, this was so fun. I had a great time.
Wait, who
This
trash talks
venue was
Ohio?
amazing. Oh, there was tons of people trash talking in Ohio. You didn't see it leading up?
No.
Anytime Ohio was mentioned, like people were talking about, like, why would you go to Ohio? Like, you could go anywhere else. Why would you go? Oh, there was tons of trash talking.
And how'd they leave, though?
I mean, I think
great.
I think everyone enjoyed themselves.
I know I had buckets of fun.
Buckets and days worth of fun.
It's one of the better weekends I've had all in
It really
2021.
was.
It really was. I'm excited. I'm excited for the YouTube show. I'm excited for everything. I'm excited to listen to everybody else's show, see how they felt as well. But today's show that we're here, we're not talking about all the fun we have because we have fun all the time.
All the time.
Couple wild and crazy guys, am I right? yeah, we are. Today and next week, we're talking about our top 12 at each position this year. Like, who do we think is going to finish as a running back one on this episode? On the Nerd Herd Show, quarterback ones, which will be very helpful if you play Superflex, which is probably 5 years from now will be the standard. Most likely the way you play fantasy. Next week, we're going to spread out a little bit, go wide receivers and tight ends. So let's kick it off, shall we?
Let's do it.
We'll start off with our drunken, handsome fellow to my left here, Matt O'Hara. Matt, in order.
You're just going to be drunk Matt forever now. It's like,
No.
No, he won't be. It's just
for this episode?
It's just right here. Listen,
Yeah.
I've been best friends with Matt for like 25 years, and he was in his own element this weekend. And And for all the analysts listening to this or watching this that was with Matt, can attest.
They can.
They can.
But attest to your top 12 running backs for the 2021 season. And let's see how our list differentiate and will they fall in place.
So we're just going to go down them real fast, each of us, and then we're going to kind of discuss the differences as we go.
Hey, we're going to talk about it. It's a podcast. What else are we supposed to do in this?
All right.
We'll sign language it out.
All right. So I'm going to start by one. I don't know how to say one. But Christian McCaffrey at 1, Alvin Kamara at 2, Dalvin Cook at 3. That was very nice. Yeah. Derrick Henry at 4, Ezekiel Elliott at 5, Aaron Jones at 6, Saquon Barkley way down at 7, 8 Nick Chubb, 9 J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor at 10, Austin Ekeler at 11, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire rounding off my top 12.
Nice. Garrett?
CMC at the top spot, Dalvin at number 2, Alvin Kamara number 3, Derrick Henry number 4, Ezekiel Elliott number 5, Jonathan Taylor number 6, Saquon Barkley number 7, Aaron Jones 8, Joe Mixon 9, Nick Chubb 10, Antonio Gibson 12, and at 11, and then Austin Ekeler at 12.
All right. My list, which is better than your guys' list, probably clearly today. Christian McCaffrey at 1, Dalvin Cook at 2, Zeke Elliott at 3, Alvin Kamara at 4, Saquon Barkley at 5, Aaron Jones at 6, Antonio Gibson at 7, so I have Gibson the highest, Austin Ekeler at 8, Derrick Henry at 9, Joe Mixon at 10, Nick Chubb at 11, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire at number 12. Now, I already hear a gasp from our audience. I was the sole person to leave Jonathan Taylor off my list.
Yeah, you jerk.
And it was hard because for my borderline guys, I have 4 guys that are border. Like I had 16 guys I wanted to make running back ones. Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, and Jonathan Taylor. And I know Jonathan Taylor had a running back 6 finish last year. So that was the one I was really looking at this list like, okay, I have Jonathan Taylor off. How do I get him in? And I was speaking about this at the expo, actually, on one of the panels. Like, people talk about wide receiver 2s, running back 2s, and running back 1s. Like, there's this big group of them. And people have to realize there's only 12 running back 1s. That's it. That's the only thing that exists for the season. There'll be only 12 running back 1s in the world. There's only 12 wide receiver 1s in the world. There's only 12 wide receiver 2s in the world. These are commodities. It's why we covet them so much, because there's not many of them. And I know points per game and all that, but listen, points per game is great, but where do you finish, right? Like, I don't care if my fantasy team averages the most points during the regular season and then I came in 3rd place. Like, who gives a crap, right? Like, it's about winning. So, for me, the reason I left Jonathan Taylor off, just to let you guys know, was who was I going to put him ahead of? Look at it. This is all PPR based, of course, too.
Right.
There's nobody I could see here on a PPR basis. I know Jonathan Taylor did really well in the passing game last year, that I could just get on board that I felt 100% confident in. And again, if Jonathan Taylor finishes running back 5 this year, I would not be shocked whatsoever. But this is just my list. And with the offensive line being banged up, I know Quentin Nelson's supposed to be back, but they do lose their left tackle. Carson Wentz is just a walk-in fragile lamp, right? Like, he's just destined to be hurt. I mean, he couldn't even get 2 weeks into...
Sounds Italian.
Sure does. I mean, the guy couldn't even get through 2 weeks of practice without breaking his foot.
It was an old injury. That wasn't like he just broke his foot.
The guy's been hurt since high school. Literally, I'm not being facetious here. He's hurt every year since high school. Since his high school playing football, he's been hurt every single year of his career. So I'm just looking at it as like, if he gets hurt again and he goes down, which is, again, I'm not saying he will. It's just odds are he will, right? It's just the odds are in Carson Wentz's favor he's getting hurt. What does that do to Jonathan Taylor? On top of that, a lot of these running backs on my list are the sole proprietor of that running back system, right? Like, they're getting all the carries, they're getting all the receptions. And they do bring Marlon Mack back to Indianapolis, which, again, I'm not worried about him the least bit, but I am concerned with Nyheim Hines because he's so efficient in the passing game, and I like him so much there.
Well, let's just say hypothetically, because one of the biggest arguments for Jonathan Taylor rising up boards was that he would be even more involved in the passing game this year than last year. But let's just say hypothetically he's not. Let's just say it's exactly the same as it was last year. Still had 36 receptions for basically 300 yards. It was 299 and a touchdown. The area where this might differ is about halfway through the season, he was still sharing carries with a bunch of people,
right.
And if I think it seems very unlikely that he would have fewer touches this year than he did last year. So really the only place where I could see any chance of any real regression for him being the number 6 running back last season would be potentially in touchdowns, where he finished off with 11 touchdowns on the season. Touchdowns are fluky. They're really hard to project, but he is a home run threat. Like, he does have that long speed. So if somebody, and he's going to get the goal line work as well. So those would be 2 areas where you would think those would continue. I just don't see in a situation where talent, he's still got it. I think touches, he's still going to have as many, if not more than last year. I just don't know how he doesn't finish not only top 12, but top 10.
Yes, I mean, I have him down at 10. I have it at 10. Right,
okay,
right.
So you're kind of right in between us.
So I couldn't get him completely out of my running back 1 conversation, but the stuff that worries me is his early season usage. If it's not, a Carson Wentz there in this, and it's Sam Ellinger,
yeah, apparently that job's up for grabs.
That's a thing. Like, you have to have that in the back of your mind where it could be a total scrub at quarterback. And then at that point, then all you're doing is loading up the box trying to stop the run, because you're not worried about the threat of the pass. You're really not. You're going to make that young QB prove it. Either way, whether it's Sam Ellinger or
Jacob Eason.
Jacob Eason, thank you. You're gonna be stopping the run. You're gonna be loading up to do that, and so I'm worried about his early season usage if that is to come to fruition. If Carson Wentz can't make it back,
and late season usage when Carson Wentz is
injured again,
the hospital with a broken femur and a broken pelvis,
because he's that broken up,
dude.
Yeah,
both.
No, I mean it's
both things broke.
That's
same play.
Yeah, jeez.
So guys, I'm very aware of this too, because I was looking at this. Okay, so I started at 12. It's like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, right? Ask anybody else, you're gonna be like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not gonna finish higher than Jonathan Taylor. But I mean, you gotta remember, this was a guy who was almost a running back 1 last year, up until they brought Le'Veon Bell in. And I mean, where he played at least a certain amount of snaps. I mean, this guy averaged 20 touches a game with 100 yards, and they get rid of everybody now. He's the dominant player and one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. We expect him to finally get a little bit more of that Brian Westbrook usage, where last year he was not involved in the receiving game. So if he was a running back 1, not in the receiving game last year, not scoring touchdowns, the same offense that made Damian Williams a high-end running back, to me, it's hard for me not to imagine him being a running back 1, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I know you agree because you have him in your running back 1 status. You did not. But again, he's going to dominate all of the touches. They didn't bring anybody back here in Kansas City. It's pretty much just going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire show all the way through. And again, we have to do these assuming everybody's going to be healthy, right? Except for Carson Wentz. I would not assume he's going to be healthy.
He does not get a pass.
So when I was like, okay,
unless there's a reason to think he's not going to be, which he's not. I mean, he's not right now. He's currently not. Yeah.
But from all reports, it looks like he actually has a legitimate shot to start the season, which that in and of itself is surprising, because initial reports, we were talking about missing half the season.
It's because he got a bone removed.
So did Nelson. Apparently the surgeon's great. If he can get both these guys back by week 1, that's it seemingly is either the highest end of the timeline or potentially even a few days to a week earlier than the earliest part of the timeline.
But we'll see. They're still not practicing.
For sure.
They're on the side. It's just everybody, just because they're on the side line on the field, people are like, oh, they're back already. No, they're just back on the field.
Right. But I mean, all the reports from Mortensen
Schefter and everybody. Yes. Yeah. Which is, again, that's fine. But if he is back by then, he hasn't practiced a lot. He's on a new team. Hasn't practiced a lot. Doesn't have that rapport. I look at Nick Chubb. We all agree. We all have Nick Chubb on our list. So
I have him at 10. Where'd you guys have him?
I had him 11.
I had him at 8.
Okay. So we're all close enough there. Yeah. No need to discuss Nick Chubb right here and Jonathan Taylor. Joe Mixon. I know you did not have Joe Mixon on your list. Again, goes back to the situation. I know you did too. I have him as 10.
I have him at 9.
And he was a guy that just missed for me. So it's not like I don't think he's going to be close to the conversation. I think he's going to be.
Let's do this though, because you did have J.K. Dobbins.
Sure I did.
Let's look at J.K. Dobbins and Joe Mixon. What was it that made you feel confident putting J.K. Dobbins ahead of Joe Mixon? Because I love Dobbins. He was my highest rated back in the class, both pre and post. Not post, but pre-draft. Love the kid. but I am concerned about the overall touches and the passing volume.
Okay.
So what made you confident putting him over Mixon?
And to be fair, I'm not worried about the passing volume in the slightest. I think it's to see a huge uptick.
Okay.
That would mean Lamar would have to pass the running back a lot more.
So last year, J.K. Dobbins
will.
obviously was splitting carries quite a bit throughout the season. Mark Ingram was there. Gus the Bus was there as well. And then late in the season, weeks 13 through 17, J.K. Dobbins basically took over the role, and it was J.K. Dobbins and Gus, and they phased out Mark Ingram completely.
Yep.
And that's when J.K. Dobbins took over. I believe he was top 10 throughout those weeks in fantasy production. And what I really liked, and when I dug into it a little bit more, is he was out there. He was getting more carries and more touches than Gus the Bus. So he was the one getting the greater proportion of that. But he was also doing better with those carries.
Just to affirm what you're saying, he was running back 10 in weeks 13 through 17.
That's average 6 yards per carry.
Right. So
I think it was the highest.
Obviously, Mark Ingram's out the door. Gus the Bus is still there. This is one of these offenses that's going to want to run the ball. They want to pound the ball. I know that they're talking a big game here that they want to pass the ball.
They have no choice. All the receivers are hurt.
Right. The whole damn everyone's getting injured.
Brown's out. Bateman's out.
Watkins is hurt now too.
Oh, Watkins. Well, that one shouldn't be a surprise.
When did that happen?
He was like banged up like this week. I heard.
I must have missed it.
I don't know.
Or maybe I read it and thought it was an old tweet or something.
All right,
I don't know.
let's take a bet right now. Who plays more games, Sammy Watkins or Carson Wentz?
Carson Wentz.
Sammy Watkins.
Ooh,
I'm going to take Carson. I'm going to take Carson. But regardless, and just, J.K. Dobbins going to his second year, I think there is going to be a natural progression in the passing game as well.
I think it's not a natural. I think it's going to be. I completely disagree with Garrett, and I'm just telling you, by the way, I think he sees a huge. How many receptions did you have last year? Like 30?
I don't have it off the top of my head.
Okay, but
I think it's double. I think take that.
Double it.
But there's no. That's great to say, like, in theory, that's a good idea for them to do that. I agree. But we don't have anything to historically back up that Lamar is going to magically just start passing to the running back more. I would love for that. I think it would be smart for that, but we don't have anything to back that up.
We don't have anything to back that up. It is wishful thinking.
No, it's the coaching staff really talking him up how they want to get him more involved in passing game. It's training camp footage of them throwing him the ball a ton. It's their website.
It could just be passing drills for all we know.
You're right, but listen, it's also because he did it so well in college as well. Like he caught the ball well in college. So
and he's a guy that you get the ball in space and he can make big things happen. And that's what I think they are going to try to plan him to get him into some spots where he can make big chunk plays. And I think that's
I hope that is true.
We are in the business of predicting, right? We're analysts that give our opinions on what we think's always going to happen. It's what we do. It's what every analyst in fantasy football does. It's what Matthew Berry does. It's what every podcast you listen to. We all give our opinions on what we do. And some people might want to use their opinions on analytics. Some people might want to use their thing on film. Some people might want to use it for both, right? That's what we do. We give our opinion on what we think is going to happen. And the cream rises to the top for the people that are more right than wrong. More people are going to either follow them on social media or listen to their podcast. I mean, again, I get some shit sometimes out here saying, "Oh, these Dynasty nerds want to clap themselves on the back." But we've been lucky enough to have a very high success rate when it comes to predicting what rookies are going to be good with or not, and when they'll trade for players and whatnot. We've been lucky in that. So I've always gone on that, and a lot of times I think about like, what would I do if I was the Ravens? And again, this is a team that's about to sign Lamar Jackson to a big time contract, and they have to protect him some from that run. And to do that, they're going to have to get they're going to have J.K. Dobbins involved more. You mentioned Marquise Brown has over 70% drop rate. Rashad Bateman's just had groin surgery. Sammy Watkins gets hurt looking in the mirror. And then they have other receivers. Okay, like they have Mark Andrews, but like
it's going to be Mark Andrews. They're going to have to throw the ball to football. They're going to have to throw it to somebody. And the offensive line, though, I mean, I know that they traded Orlando Brown over to Kansas City.
Marshall Yanda.
Yeah, they got but they replaced him. You know what I mean? Yeah. They got what's his name from the Zeitler, who's a great run blocker,
and then Villanueva
from the Steelers. I'm working off a little bit of a hangover still. So they are getting a lot of pieces back on the offensive line. All that combined, I think, brings me to the fact that J.K. Dobbins is going to squeak his way in here.
He's one of my guys. If he does squeak in, I'm not even going to care about it. I'm just assuming that's a mouse, not a big deal. Yep. Squeak away. But the only thing the reason I had J.K. Dobbins, you can give why you had him off, is I feel like the touchdown production won't be there. I feel like Gus the Bus will steal that, and Lamar Jackson will steal some of that as well because he is so explosive. And he will always, running game will always be a part of Lamar Jackson. So I'm not saying they're taking it away from him, but I think that's what hurts him.
Sure.
I think he's borderline running back 1. But again, it goes back to, I don't have those same questions about a guy. You mentioned Joe Mixon, right? Joe Mixon's the bell cow back there. There's nobody else there.
Right.
It's Samaje Perine. And I'm not worried about Samaje Perine. He's going to dominate all the running back touches. This is a guy who had the third most touches per game last year. He had 24 touches per game last year. And now that with no Gio Bernard, his PPR is going to go up tremendously. He goes back to like J.K. Dobbins, like, well, maybe the touchdowns won't be there. If Joe Mixon slips, it's not because of his production. It's because his touchdowns aren't there because the Bengals can't move the ball downfield. But again, I had that hard time predicting that because they're going to be trailing a lot, chucking the ball downfield, and they have 3 good receivers.
No, so just real quick, I just want to touch on this, and then I'll go over to Joe Mixon. So last year, for total targets for the running back position between Justice Hill, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, there was only 50 targets for all 4 of those players. So that's the reason I ended up keeping J.K. Dobbins off, is I just can't project that moving forward until I see some evidence that they're willing to do that. Now, moving over to Joe Mixon, I'm absolutely on board with Joe Mixon. I have been for the past few years now. He was RB11, he was RB13, so he's always been right around that RB1 range, and on a per game basis, he was right there last year as well. Everything out of camp, every report we've heard, everything is he's staying on the field, we're getting him the ball, he's staying on the field, we're getting him the ball. The offensive line should be improved, even though moderately, it's still not a good offensive line, and I would have been way more confident with this had they drafted Sewell in the first round instead of Jamar Chase. But it should still be a younger, more improved offensive line. They did add Reef from the Minnesota Vikings. So even just on it might simply end up being David Montgomery last year, where just on raw touches, he ends up being a top running back. Now, I think he's more talented than David Montgomery, but I'm not even basing it on that. I'm just basing it on he's going to get the ball a ton.
I agree. I mean, we saw his passing routes go up tremendously even last year in the Zach Taylor offense. So I expect that to continue. Why didn't you have Joe?
He was just right.
Missed as well?
Yeah, he was just off the list. It was not like a
big and that's the thing. None of these guys, I think we all agree these guys are so close.
I do want to touch on that
Antonio
partly.
Gibson. We're like those 2 guys that weren't on my list that were on your guys' list.
Yeah, we need to get to him in just a second.
We're going to him here in a second because I'm about to go 6 to midnight.
What I think the thing that is most difficult about this is, for me, after about 6 or 7, I don't know, right around there, 6, 7, 8, like 9 through like 15, and we kind of touched on it on a different podcast.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were 30 points separating them on the season. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's going to be
like
very close.
A point or 2, per game the whole way from 7 to 16 or something like that. It like 1 or 2 points per game. It's not a big needle moving type of difference between those guys on a point per game basis. So yeah, it is very difficult, and we are getting a little nitpicky, I think, towards the bottom of any of ours.
Could be nitpicky though. That's the whole point.
No, I know, definitely.
Saquon Barkley, where did you guys end up having him?
I have So I wrote here, I have Saquon at 5. And I wrote, this may be high for Barkley, who only played in the 1 game last year because he tore his ACL right there in week 2. And then come off a 2019 season where he was the number 10 overall, I think, fantasy football running back. But his rookie year, he's running back 1 overall.
Right.
And the offensive line is atrocious.
Dumpster juice.
It is. And I wrote here,
I had him,
maybe too high.
I had him at 7.
Okay, I have him at 7 too.
And it's because of the reason you're saying. Like, I want to have him higher. I think he's going to have a slow start to the season. They're already easing him very slowly.
He did do team drills today for the first time, which is good to see.
He's just so damn talented.
Yes.
But that offensive line is just so damn bad. And if they're not going to give him a ton of targets, and he's not getting much support from his quarterback, which I'm not sure he's going to be, I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to get to that elite level this year.
So what brought me back to get him to 5? I was like, this might be too high. I was like, I think he's gonna if you can get behind that offensive line, he's gonna do well. I mean, he's a very talented running back. There's a problem with not getting past the offensive line, but then I look back at that week 1 game, which again he only had 60 yards against the Steelers. I think, total. Or he had 15. He had 6 rushing yards that game, which was atrocious. But he caught 6 passes for 60 yards.
Right.
I know they're bringing Kenny Galladay,
who's hurt right now.
Who's banged again? He has a hammy as well. I think where Saquon's going to get back into it is he's going to be catching a like Daniel Jones scapegoat like no tomorrow. And I kept seeing that stat from week 1: 6 catches, 60 yards. That's 12 points. That's 12 points right off the rip.
Right.
Without him having be able to get offensive line. So I think
that was the game. That was the game when he was getting hit behind the offensive line the entire time.
The entire time.
Yeah.
Which might not be that much different this season. Like I think there is an absolutely in a world where his receiving yardage and his rushing yardage are eerily similar.
So I think what it would be then is he finishes it as that mid-range running back 1. I think it's the receptions he's going to get. I think he might get that close to like 85 receptions this year. Something along those lines.
Wouldn't shock me at all.
That's what brought me back to Saquon. And I think we're all pretty close there.
Yeah.
Anything on Saquon? Right.
No, I'm absolutely with you. That was my biggest worry was just the offensive line. Is the offensive line going to be able to do enough to get him once again to the top overall back or the second overall back? And I just think, guys like CMC, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and even Derrick Henry, I think all 4 of those guys are just very, very safe. Mm-hmm. You know you're going to get good production. Now, I know you had Henry a little bit lower than Matt and I did because did you have Henry at 4 as well?
I did.
So we both had him at 4. I think, Rich, you had him a little bit lower. Is it the pass catching concerns? Is it the age? What is it that lowered you?
I moved him down to 9.
Okay.
They bring in Julio Jones. So this was a run-dominant team. I expect them to open up a little bit more this year with a guy like Julio because why have these weapons in A.J. Brown? I expect A.J. Brown to progress, and then you have Julio Jones. You got Ryan Tannehill. You got to go for it. I think Derrick Henry's going to get his, but I went back to the guys. I just put the PPR guys ahead of him. That's all. I don't think he's going to rush for 2,000 yards again this year. Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of it. And I think when you get those guys that don't do that, you're going to get more like, I think he's going to fall back in that Nick Chubb range, right around like running back 9 to 11. I mean, if he finishes running back 5, again, I'm not taking it back. I mean, you're talking about a guy who finishes number 3 overall in PPR leagues last year and number 5 the year before. But again, I went to the guys like PPR guys. So I was like, okay, say he doesn't rush for 2,000 yards. Maybe he's a 1,600-yard rusher this year, which is fantastic. It would put him down closer to running back 9 in my projections of where he would be. So for me, where you guys have him, I'm totally fine with him. If you'd had him 3 overall, I would have been like, oh, no way. It's just I kept going through it, I was like, oh, Austin Ekeler. I like him a little bit more. Antonio Gibson probably the biggest discrepancy against a lot of people, but we'll talk about him here in a second of why I have Antonio Gibson here. But to me, it just came down to that. I don't think he's going to be a 2,000-yard rusher. I think this offense is going to open up a little bit more in the passing game. New offensive coordinator. I know he's going to run the same scheme, but it's not guaranteed that Derrick Henry's going to get fed just as much with the new offensive coordinator. They did trade for Julio Jones, and when you have a player like Julio, you throw Julio the ball. He's one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. You have AJ Brown to offset him, so it's like
who plays more games, Carson Wentz or Julio Jones?
Oh, Julio Jones easily.
These guys are all getting
who's playing more games, me or Carson Wentz? And then I might give Carson Wentz the nod.
Barely.
The one thing that I will say is Julio Jones doesn't catch many touchdowns, but he does draw.
In Atlanta.
He does draw a lot of pass interference type of
get him down to the inside the 5.
Get him down inside the 5, and then who goes to work?
Big body AJ Brown there in the corner of the end zone, baby.
Derrick Henry. No, I think he's got one more round in him, and then the wheels fall off. That is really how I feel about Derrick Henry. I know we were slow to that train, and rightfully so. He was slow to get his whole career moving.
We were dead on that train.
No, I know,
and he was slow to catch up. We were right for 3.5 years.
We were, and then he started rolling, and it's undeniable that he's been a beast. You know what I mean?
He's a monster.
But
he's fantastic.
there were times at the end of last year, and in the playoffs and stuff like that in the past where he looked like he couldn't get off the ground. You know what I mean? Towards the end of some of these seasons. So he is wearing down. He's got to be. He's a human being like the rest of us. And he's just been getting an ungodly amount of carries. So, he's not
400 each of the last 2 seasons.
He's not a human being like us.
He has 827 carries.
Different,
yeah, different kind of human.
He's different. But
yeah, that's like saying Myles Garrett and I are the same species. Yeah, we're not.
No. So, but I mean, he's getting to that point, in my opinion, that he's going to be wearing down. I think they're going to use him up because I think they like the offense that they've been running, and they've got no one else to run the ball. Darrington Evans, I mean, give me a break. I think the guy already got injured too in camp. So it is him. He's going to
had a nice run.
He's going to be getting ground down. And like I said, I do think he's going to get a lot of opportunities there towards the goal line and get a lot of.
If you look at charts when it comes to players like this, it's a clear chart that you can see over a progression of any career. Derrick Henry started off really slow. If you're on YouTube, you're seeing my hand right now. It's very beautiful.
Look at that art.
Very slow, and then boom, he goes up. Right, he's number 5 running back, and then he's number 3. So I expected now that I think last year
the peak has happened.
I think last year his number 3 finish will be his all-time finish. That was it. That's the highest he'll ever be.
I absolutely agree. He's going to come down one spot to number 4.
And it's possible. So that's where I think it is. Again, I just like these guys ahead of him here.
Then down.
I think some of these guys, obviously the guys we don't have to talk about in the show at all are Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, right? We both had them pretty high. There's no need to. Christian McCaffrey averages 30 points a game. He literally will win you a championship by himself. So before we get into why Antonio Gibson is in our top, and I have a number 7.
I have him at 11,
and Matt has him at all. I want to give our audience talk about something here real quick. The Dynasty Nerds gives back Best Ball Dynasty League. It's a brand new thing we're launching here between 4. There's going to be 4 12-team divisions hosted on myfantasyleague.com. All you have to do is make a minimum $10 donation to one of 3 charities. No Kid Hungry, Disabled American Veterans, the V Foundation. Email this verification of the donation to nerdsgiveback@dynastynerds.com. Again, you can donate $10. That's all you got to do is donate $10. If you'd like to do more to help out a good cause, No Kid Hungry, Disabled American Veterans, or the V Foundation, and you email that to nerdsgiveback@dynastynerds.com. And of course, if you don't know that, we'll give it to you. If somehow you forget to email it, we'll give it to you. And the drafts will start as soon as the divisions fill up. The league info, it's going to be super flex, tight end premium. It's going to be FA Fab waivers start after week 1, rookie draft in May. Playoffs will be weeks 15 through 17. Week 15, round 1, 6 teams, go on and on. The winner will receive a fantasy football championship belt from Trophy Smack. So we want to thank Trophy Smack for that. They're going to get a belt. Check out DynastyNerds.com for more details. So all the details for this will be on DynastyNerds.com. Obviously, the Dynasty community is known for its charity work. Yep. And we felt Dynasty Nerds could do more. And we had this was a great idea started by our managing editor, Dennis Bennett, also following on Twitter at Culture Coach. He's going to be organizing and running this for us. And here at DynastyNerds.com, we wanted to make sure we could do more to help all the good causes that are going on from the fantasy community. Yep. And this is our step forward in that progress. And hopefully this can grow into even more money and help for all 3 of those great foundations. So make sure you donate. Send that to the email. We'll try and get you in the league when they fill up. Even if they fill up, still donate to these great, great causes.
Awesome stuff.
So this weekend we had some preseason action, and one of my favorite things about preseason is we find all of those little gems out there, all the little Jarrett Pattersons, the gluteus minimuses. He looked great, by the way. Javonte Williams, he's a little bigger gem.
I'm on Rush Sabri.
Amon-Ra looks great.
Buy him on this site. Garrett's about to give you an app. When he does, he gives you this information. I want you to use it. Go on there and buy Amon-Ra St. Brown right now.
Right, meow. Well, you can do that on PredictionStrike.com. It's the only platform where you can buy, sell, even hold shares of your favorite players, just like they were actual stocks. They have the app for the iOS. They have the website you can go on. It's a great platform, unique, something different than a lot of the other fantasy games out there. And best of all, you can sign up with promo code DYNASTY to receive $10 with your first deposit of $20 or more. Guys, it's free money. You get $10 free with the promo code DYNASTY with your first deposit of $20 or more over at Prediction Strike.
You can buy that $10 for free on Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Put it all down.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is going for $3.43.
Oh, his price is going up.
That is and listen, if you've been on Prediction Strike all summer, right, you might see some of these prices been somewhat stagnant. For the most part.
Games are starting to play.
Well, of course.
Yeah. My Brian Edwards shares are going up.
Are they going up already?
Going up.
Yeah, see, the whispers got the pennies going up. 8% return so far. So this is where you're going to make your money. Because when the season starts and they start producing, not only does your value go up, so does your pockets. You're going to be
Your pockets go up?
You're going to be able to buy so many Happy Meals.
Look at these pockets.
Yeah, you ever walk around
ladies.
when you're all hidey-tighty because you're so rich, you're like, hey, peons. Or what, no, peasants. Hey, peasants. Like, whoa, Daddy Warbucks, what did you get all that money? I just want to thank Brian Edwards and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Bought them for pennies, and now I have a Lamborghini. I'm like, where'd you do that? PredictionStrike.com.
There it is.
All right, let's move on to these running backs, shall we?
Let's please.
The hot topic here is not that store at the mall that sells all that really alternative clothing. It's Antonio.
Alternative.
Hey, I went there, I think, when I was in high school.
You got yourself a little spiked belt or something from there, didn't
Oh,
you?
dude, I was hardcore punk rock in high school. Oh, not hard. I was punk rock in high school. So, of course, I did not buy that from Hot Topic.
He stole it from Hot Topic.
Right.
I definitely
That's what
didn't do
punk
that
rock
either.
would do.
I did it. I got it from like a punk rock store, but I did get a couple shirts from there. Like I think I had a white trash shirt from there.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? It's, help the cause. Antonio Gibson. Now, I have Antonio Gibson at 7, which is higher than all of you guys. So like me, Josh Gordon, were sitting around and we're like, dude, how high can we get Antonio Gibson? And Josh looked at me, he's like, so high, bro, so high. And I believed him because he's got history, right? Like
it's true.
We stand pat on that. So all the news all year long is we need to get him more involved in the passing game. He had 36 catches last year. We got to get him more involved in the passing game. And there's proof that he could do this because J.D. McKissic had like 110 targets last year. It was gross. It was like handsomely gross. So it's like
He led the league, right?
Yeah. It was called the Rich Dotson, right? Like just handsomely gross. And then today comes out. So I had Antonio Gibson like right around like 11, right?
So same spot as me.
Yeah. So then today I see the report saying we are just determined to use him like Christian McCaffrey. And that's when I went 6 to midnight. Literally, I was sitting at dinner. I went to stand up. I knocked the table over. It was crazy because I was so excited.
That's nuts.
They were there. And Antonio Gibson already, you're talking about a guy who finished as running back 13 in PPR leagues last year. And he only played 44% of the snaps. Like he wasn't even that involved early on. And this is a guy whose playing time is going to go up pretty significantly here. And they're talking already, I mean, they're talking in there, like, this is a completely different player. He looks tremendously better out here. We're talking about a guy who didn't have many snaps at running back in the first place coming out. Now he has a season. The coaching staff is talking him up.
It was 30. Didn't he play 30 snaps at running
33.
back? 33.
33.
There we go.
Yep.
And this is something that they are talking about over. I mean, if you're in Washington, it's Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson. Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson. Yep. Both are the greatest players of all time, and both are fantasy assets. And I'm just going on this again. I'm going to go on. Like, you're right. You don't know what's going to happen, right? It could be all talk. But with the fact that Ron Rivera was the coach, the fact that they did throw the J.D. McKissic a ton of times, the fact that Antonio Gibson's a former wide receiver who can catch the ball well, who had 36 last year, if he just doubles that, it has 72 catches to go with another solid rushing season where he was running back 13 last year in PPR, he would absolutely jump up to number 7, if not higher, and have that David Montgomery number 4 finish. So I am all in. Because, I mean, J.D. McKissic's a nice back, but he's not a big back.
No.
Right? We don't have to worry about Ryan Fitzpatrick running at the goal line. Both the receivers, I mean, McLaurin's 6 foot. Curtis Samuel's about 6 foot. They're not like big body 6 foot receivers. No. Antonio Gibson's a big man. So I'm not worried about him at the goal line. I am not worried. I mean, they got Logan Thomas there, but I'm not worried about the goal line. I am just going to take their word at it because he was running back 13 last year, and he didn't even play half the snaps. If he just plays the regular snaps and his catches stay the same, he's running back number 8 overall. So to me, I am all in on Antonio Gibson this year. I think he's going to be at running back 7, and he's the one guy here, like, when I look at it, if he finished higher, like, it wouldn't surprise me. So it was actually pretty easy for me to get Antonio Gibson ahead of Derrick Henry this year. And the reason Derrick Henry did fall down to number 9 is because of guys like Gibson that I believe their PPR benefit is going to bump them up. And that's what always gets running backs there for me, is it's a point per reception league. Even a half PPR league. Those extra points always get you near where you need to be. I expect Gibson to be anywhere from a 12 to 1,400 yard rusher for this team. And again, I expect him to double almost his receiving yards, which would make him a mid-range to high-end running back one. I love him this year. Why? Because Ron Rivera is telling me to, and I am just going to follow suit.
And I think you have... And this is why I'm more okay with this than like the J.K. Dobbins, because we do have some track record of Ron Rivera. We do have some track record of them passing to the running back last year. We have track record of him actually coaching Christian McCaffrey. So we have things that we've actually seen in the past that can correlate to this happening. So overall, I'm absolutely on board. I have him at 11. I think he's an incredibly talented player. I mean, he only had 170 rushes last year. He could easily get 50, 60, 70 more rushes, and it wouldn't shock me in the least.
Rich is about to break his head.
He is. But to save his life before he snaps his neck, the one teensy concern I do have is I talk about touchdown regression. On just such a few, now granted, he did have crazy touchdown percentages in high school or in college as well, but he had 11 touchdowns and only those 170 rush attempts. That's a really, really high percentage to be able to do that. That was pretty high for Jonathan Taylor at 232. So that would be the only thing that I think would keep me from going to where Rich is, because otherwise I would be there. I don't know that he can increase his touchdowns much.
I'm here.
You're here.
Come on over.
And that is the big concern. It was the high elevated amount of touchdowns.
72 receptions. Screw those touchdowns.
But he very well could. I just want to see him do it, I guess. And
pervy.
And I had finished my list before that report came out that they said that they wanted to get him.
He might have been 12 otherwise.
So I mean, if I had read that and decided to tweak it, then maybe he would have found his way into the bottom, because I mean he was right there anyway. So it's not like I don't like the guy. I traded a first round draft pick for him last year. I love him, and I saw him having
so
really
mad
good.
that I probably did too, because he took him in the second round. No, we talk about those trades. I'm like, my favorite maneuver is if I give somebody a first round grade. He goes in the second round. I offer my first next year for him. Mm-hmm. I did it with Antonio Gibson. I got him.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a guy that I like. I expect good things of him, but I'm not sure that he's going to be as involved. Or at the time when I was putting this together, I wasn't sure that he was going to be as involved in the passing game. So I mean, it sounds like they're going to try to get him involved, and they obviously throw the ball to the running backs quite a bit. It's a different quarterback than last year. It's not Alex Smith again, so I don't know exactly if it's going to be 1-for-1 the amount of targets to the running backs that they had last year between J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson. But I would imagine most of that, a lot of that shifts over to Antonio Gibson. They said it sounds like they want to get him quite involved, so he's got a great shot at cracking this top 12.
Massive jump.
Yep.
So let's touch on one more guy, because there is one small thing I didn't even tell you guys about that I wanted to do.
How small? Like Tinkerbell small, or like
small? Okay. This running back's pretty small anyway. Austin Ekeler.
Oh, I thought you were going to say gluteus minimus.
Let's talk about our 45th ranked running back. No, Austin Ekeler. Where did you guys? Because we all had him top 12, correct or no?
I had him at 11.
Okay, so we don't have him too far apart. I had him at 12. I was really, really close to putting the guy that you guys both had at either like 11 or 12, CEH, above him.
Yeah.
I'm a tiny bit nervous about Austin Ekeler this year. There were reports that they're wanting to use all the running backs. Okay. They're going to limit maybe Austin Ekeler's touches. It is a new coach, so anytime there's a new coach, it's tough to say what could happen. Like he scares me a little bit. So I'm even as we were talking, I'm like, should I put CEH in above him? Which I know is kind of a hot take, because I think a lot of people do have him in their top 12 and probably even top 10.
So wrong.
I think the passing volume will be enough to sustain it and get him there.
Yes.
But I am concerned.
He's not going to have a lot of carries. I mean, he's going to be 150, 180 maybe on the whole year if he's real lucky.
He averaged 7.1 targets per game.
Yep.
He averaged 7.1 targets per game.
But that was with a different coaching staff.
But Joe Lombardi came over from where?
Yeah.
The Saints.
That had to be the Saints, buddy.
And,
sure.
And they know how to use a guy out of the backfield with a similar skill set to Austin Ekeler. I think Austin Ekeler might be a little bit even stronger between the tackles as well.
Yeah.
So
buddy.
You think he's stronger than Alvin Kamara between the tackles?
I do. I think he's pound for pound a pretty strong dude.
Did you ever see that dude working out? Like he hangs from like bars.
All right, when I said stronger,
like,
I'm not talking about like how much they can bench press. Like I'm talking about like how well they run between the tackles. Like, do you think he's a more efficient, better runner between the tackles than Alvin Kamara?
Stronger.
Oh, okay. So like legitimately stronger. Got it. Okay.
He's like a stronger guy.
No, just like,
but not only on top of that too, though, this is a team that really like their offensive line was just okay last year. They took Rashawn Slater at number 13 overall in the draft. Very solid player. They got Corey Linsley, a really good center, as well. Yep. So they really bolstered this offensive line. And we saw the production with a guy like Justin Herbert, who is going to be the best quarterback he's played with in a long time. When he was playing with Justin Herbert last year, he was getting at least almost 20 touches per game. And they said he was averaging over 7 targets a game. That is for a run. That is for PPR running backs. That is absolutely massive. That alone kind of production gets you in a running back. All the rushing stats Ekeler gets is just gravy. Yep. His PPR production will get him into running back 1 status. So that the fact that he's the main guy there is what just propelled me up to him number 8. Like I can understand where like number 12 or whatever on PPR. I just think he gets enough of those bonus rushing yards to get him up to number 8 for me. Again, if he finishes running back number 4, which he did previously, his points per game average was right around like where David Montgomery was the previous year. Where did David Montgomery finish last year as a guy?
4.
At number 4.
Yep.
So Ekeler just falls right in that mold. Like I put him at 8. Like I was feeling like kind of dirty. Like I put Tony Gibson ahead of him. I was like, ooh, should I do it? And I knocked my table over. I had to do it. Like my wife needed answers. I mean, there's salad and nuts on the ground. Real nuts. And I had to explain myself. I was like, babe, I put him ahead of Austin Ekeler, and that's what got it done. So now she's okay.
All right. If there was one guy that we have not talked about even as like I wanted to get him in or anything, like if there was one guy that we have not touched on at all yet as a dark horse to sneak inside the top 12, what would be the guy that you would pick? I can go first to give you guys some time to think.
Go ahead.
I was actually, as I was going through, I almost put this guy in, and like I said, it was really tough. But at first, I had him ahead of even a lot of the Najee Harrises and stuff like that, and I just couldn't do it because I don't know what the touches will look like exactly. But I think DeAndre Swift is being overlooked in this conversation.
He was the guy that I tried to get in.
What are you talking about? He was my 4. He's one of my 4 guys that said if he gets in,
Did you?
I said Swift, Jonathan Taylor.
You can't listen to everything you say.
J.K. Dobbins.
There's a lot of names
and
thrown
Najee
out
Harris.
there.
Those 4 guys. So that's it. Those 4 guys would be like they're like 12B for me behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He was one of those guys. But go ahead.
Yeah,
I don't want to cut you off.
I think DeAndre Swift is a.
So before you go on,
DeAndre Swift, dude.
I think he's a really good value in redraft right now. Obviously, he's going to be good in Dynasty as well with how young he is. But he was very efficient with his touches and on a team that had more weapons than it does right now. He had 46 receptions last year, and that was on some limited playing time and stuff. And I know Jamal Williams will be in there, and he'll be part of the equation. But I think he's a very, very talented back. And I think, at only 114 rush attempts, he was able to get over 500 yards. That number could potentially double this year. 114 is not a lot at all. That number could easily double. So he's a really talented player that I'm trying hard to make sure I don't overlook him.
Here's why I kept him out. So, I know they have a pretty good offensive line, and I think a
lot of people are ranking it inside the top 10.
Top 10, yeah. So it's a decent offensive line. The issue I have and the worry that I have is the defense. Like, are they going to be out of games where he's not as involved in? Yeah, I know he can catch passes, and that would be good.
Yeah, I think the Jared Goff dump off passes would get some helps him out.
Right.
He said all of a sudden, I'm Austin Ekeler.
Ekeler. I said Ekeler. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. If that's the avenue, then that's all good.
But Jamal Williams can catch passes as well.
Exactly. Jamal Williams, that's like his thing. I know that Swift is also very talented in that area as well, but I would like to see a more stable situation with the defense in order to get him up there.
And that's why it is always so hard to project some of these receptions. Because 2 years ago we're saying Josh Jacobs, he's going to get so many receptions.
Josh Jacobs was running back 8 overall last year.
Sure was.
CH is going to get so many catches in this offense. That's what we're saying. Like, it's just so hard to know what the scheme and what the quarterback are going to do until you've seen it happen. So that was another reason I just couldn't put DeAndre Swift in there.
I have a guy for you. See, that doesn't even count because you're like, give me a guy that's kind of out of the blue. That doesn't even count. He was part of my 12B.
He was in your blue.
Okay, so Rich named 18 extra people after the top 12.
So I'm going to name my guy. And by doing so, I'm going to name you the top 12 running backs that finished in PPR leagues last year to give you kind of our audience an idea, which we should have done.
You can't say Josh Jacobs because you just said his name before
I won't.
that.
It's not. It's going to be the last guy I mentioned who I think is the dark horse here.
I know.
Running back one. These are the guys in order. Alvin Kamara.
Yep.
Dalvin Cook. Derrick Henry. David Montgomery.
Can we stop for just a second?
Yeah.
Alvin Cook and
Alvin Cook and Dalvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara
Was Simon
and
Theodore
Cook.
right behind him as running back
25 and 24 points per game, respectively. We talk about Christian McCaffrey with his 29, almost 30 points per game as like almost untouchable. Those guys came pretty darn close last year.
And played more than 3 games.
Exactly. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
David Montgomery as running back 4. Aaron Jones 5. Jonathan Taylor 6. James Robinson 7.
James Robinson's your dark horse? Yes.
Josh Jacobs 8. Zeke Elliott 9.
Keeps going.
Which again, everyone wants to talk about Zeke. I had Zeke pretty high. Everyone talking about Zeke was the terrible last year. He's just downhill, blah, blah, blah.
Still.
With not being efficient, with nobody there, no Dak, was still running back number 9 overall.
Don't forget the fumbles.
And he's fumbling machine. Yeah. Running back number 10, Kareem Hunt. Running back number 11, Nick Chubb. Running back 12, Mike Davis. For the Atlanta Falcons. Again, comes down to how did David Montgomery finish as running back 4 overall? When Tariq Cohen went down, he saw all the receptions. He got all the rushes, right? And he produced. Now, David Montgomery only averaged 17.7 points per game. Still finishes running back 4. Mike Davis in Carolina only averaged 13.8 points per game because he wasn't overly efficient. But he was heavily involved in the passing game and the running game. He got all the targets. So when I was talking about it at the Expos, like, you don't have to be the best at your position. You just have to be utilized. We saw David Montgomery be utilized a ton, finished as running back number 4 overall. We saw James Robinson be utilized a ton, finished as running back 7 overall. The least efficient of all these running backs as a whole was Mike Davis, who only averaged 13.8 points per game, but finished as a running back 1. Why? Because he was used all the time and he played consistently. He finds himself in Atlanta right now as a pass catcher running back with nobody behind him. Nobody. Allison, Quadri Allison behind him. Olsen. Hawkins, Javian Hawkins, or Olsen. I don't even need to know his
Olsen
name.
twins, Hawkins, who cares?
Hey, watch out. Donta Foreman's in town now.
Ooh, he was good, never. So to me, if you're asking for like a sneaky guy that could be a running back 1 this year, sneak his way in,
sure,
it's easily Mike Davis because he did it last year as not efficient whatsoever. If he can stay healthy this year, again, it's a war of nutrition.
It is a war of nutrition.
Get out those bananas.
So, if you're going to eat all those bananas, you got to score some fantasy points. People are going to be slipping behind you when you're dropping those peels. What is this, Mario Kart? So for me, I think Mike Davis is my guy. You're like, give me that guy. Like, I got to do my TV show here. I think it's next week. And I'm going to do all sneaky guys that you can draft.
Sneaky.
I'm on Rod St. Brown going to be talking about. If you're in the Cleveland market, check me out. I'll be on Valley Sports TV right around 6:30 on Dredden Live. But Mike Davis is going to be the guy I'm saying, hey, if you're looking for a running back, you're looking for value this year when it comes to ADP, Mike Davis is that value. I think he's my sneaky guy to finish as running back 1. Matt, do you have a little sneaky guy?
A little sneak?
No, not really. You guys nailed the 2 that I really would have most talked about, to be honest.
I was going to say Chris Carson. That's his guy.
Chris Carson, nah. I think Chris Carson, he's gonna have a fallback year. He's gonna be in the running back 2 conversation, but I don't think he's gonna make
mostly because of DJ Dallas.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I mean, he's the only guy. I was trying to find guys in there like are close.
Hey, there it is. Javonte Williams, RB1.
No, dude. I'm telling you, Melvin Gordon's such a good.
He's gonna be splitting. He's gonna be splitting too much. Yeah, that's for him to get up there. The Miles Sanders people out there might be screaming for him.
I don't know that we should even say RB1. Should we say like top 3? I think we should say top 3
rookie
for Javonte Williams of all time.
Rookie
of all time. We'll shoot for the moon here. All right.
Travis Etienne will outproduce him. Najee will easily outproduce Javonte Williams
this year. I agree. He's going to get 3 times the touches.
I will bet you guys Javonte Williams won't even be a top 24 running back.
I'll take that bet
in fantasy football. All right, we'll make a bet.
What are you betting?
We'll let the audience
what are you betting?
We will bet. I don't know.
I'll take that also. I think he is going to be top 24.
Hey,
you guys are both taking it, so I'm doubling down.
Come up with it now. Come on. What's the bet?
No, how about this? How about we give it to our listeners?
All right. They can decide the bet. This is a little hot take on our part because I don't even know that I have him ranked as top 24 in redraft. So I'm definitely taking the hot take, but I'm okay with that.
Back out. Listen.
No, I'm taking the bet.
I'm taking the bet for sure.
It's just hot takey.
Give us okay with it. Tweet at me the bets because these guys, I don't trust them.
You don't trust us.
All right, tweet it
We
all of
are
us.
two of the most trustworthy people
All right,
you know.
how about
There's two people here that are very trustworthy.
Tweet it.
I'll let you all figure it out.
Garrett, give me your Twitter.
At DynastyPrice.
I'm at DynastyMatt.
I'm at DynastyRich. Jared, give me your. He's our producer, Jared.
Jared Wackerly, FF.
Yeah, and I'm at DynastyRich. Everybody knows where my
But
Twitter
wait,
is.
hold on. As we're talking about Twitter, we just hit 30,000 followers on Dynasty Nerds account.
High five.
Clap, clap. Golf clap. Let's golf clap.
The most followed Dynasty site out there. I
Shout
don't know
out
if that's
to,
true, but it sounds
Of
right.
all time.
Luke Sawhook, Peter Bartosky, everyone on staff.
Oh, yeah.
Writers,
Dude, great
video
content.
producers, everybody.
It's a team effort.
It
We always
really
blew
is.
at Dynasty Nerds. We have a TikTok now, too.
Yeah, go follow that.
TikTok, Instagram. Dude, our Instagram content lately has been banging. But besides that, go to Twitter, tweet us. And how about this? We get each four by Wednesday. Or no, by this weekend. Pick our favorite bet, and then we'll put the poll up on Dynasty Nerds, and they can vote what the bet
Which
is.
one they should do?
Sounds good.
If Javonte is not a top 24 running back, these guys will lose. I will win. If he is, I lose. They win. So think of that. It's 2 versus 1 here, right? And make sure it's. I'm not French kissing either of these guys.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, it's got to be.
Honestly.
We won't pick that one, so don't waste your vote.
Why'd you even put that in their heads?
Well, we're not picking it, so get it out of their heads too. Get out of your
Did it
mouth.
involve your nipples?
Possibly. We'll see. Come on, let's keep it fun, not
Keep it
freaky.
clean.
Let's end
here.
the show.
Hey, can we get some
Jared.
clamps out? Maybe involve your nipples? Like, come on, Jared. This is a
Made
family-friendly
Garrett
show.
uncomfortable over there. Like, I don't-
End the show.
Yeah, some people think the FF is for fantasy football. No, it's family-friendly, Jared.
All right, I'll
wonder
go
your
back
name's
on
Jared.
mute.
Thank you. That's it. That's our running backs. Now we're going to dive into our nerd show. Our top 12 quarterbacks. If you're not a Nerd Herd member, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. You're missing out. The season's about to start. We have all the tools at DynastyNerds.com to help you dominate your leagues. It's simple as that. The Dynasty GM. We had the mock draft tools to help dominate leagues. It's just fun tools.
Rich,
to use.
this weekend at the Expo, I can't tell you how many people, when I actually put in their teams into the GM tool, they're like, oh, that's slick. Guys, just take the 3-day free trial. Just try it. I promise you'll love it.
I'm just saying. I met Mike Clay of ESPN
Yeah.
this time for the first time. We were talking. We were
This
having like,
time for the first time.
we were having a 20-minute conversation. And before he left, I was like, Mike, I got to show you something, right, for Dynasty Leagues. I got to show you what we built. It's called Dynasty GM. And I showed him the tool, and he was literally blown away. And he's like, I have to use that. He's like, I was like, dude, I'll get you in. I'll let you get in there for free, because that's what happens. If you're the bigger you are, the more perks you get. You get free stuff.
You get free stuff.
You know, it's Mike Clay, ESPN. The number one Dynasty analyst over there at ESPN. So he's like, DM me on Twitter, and I got to get in this. I was like, I'll give you access to it for free. Mike, not a problem. And he thought it was dynamite. If you are missing what everybody at the Expo thought was dynamite and what Mike Clay thinks is dynamite, and Rich Rebar thought was absolutely dynamite.
High bar. It's an 8.
Okay. I'll ask him next time.
Look it up
next
right
time.
now.
And
Ask him out. I'll ask him.
everybody else at the Expo literally came away blown away by the GM and what it can do. And we have a new feature dropping here at the end of the week with the Trade Finder. I can't wait to see that as well. You're missing out. Get on the Dynasty GM right now. Get to DynastyRich.com. And here again, we preach this is it's free to try. That's how confident we are that you're gonna like it. It's free to try for 3 days. So go to DynastyNerds.com. You'll see it there. It's absolutely free to try. If you think we're wrong, just don't sign up.
Yeah.
Just don't sign up.
Just
don't
cancel
do it.
that thing.
Be a loser.
Yeah, cancel that thing.
DynastyNerds.com. But remember, you get tons of that. What else you get is you get the Dynasty Nerds film room. As college football season is about to be upon us, we are now going to be updating our Dynasty Nerds film room. So you get to watch all the
wait.
film on these rookies. And what does that do? Remember, we break down each player individually so you can watch an entire game on, say, what's the best running back coming out this year?
Breece Hall, most people would
Breece
say.
Hall. If you want to watch Breece Hall film, you can watch his entire game in 5 minutes. We offer the most rookie film with some all-22 film on our Dynasty Nerds film room. You get the rookie scores, everything you need. I know it's spelled HRIBR. I thought it was Rebar.
It is Rebar.
Yeah, see? Oh, now who's the douchey douche?
So wait, it's a silent H?
Yeah, I knew it. I knew his name.
Douchey,
I did know his name.
Dang it.
See? I met him. I talked to him. I was right.
quit.
Did you even talk to him?
This was my last night on the
Yeah,
Dynasty.
you're telling me how to pronounce my friends' names? These are my friends, Garrett.
I hope it's
This is
right.
where we're gonna go with this.
I'm taking my ball. I'm going home. I'll see you next week.
Adios.